Good afternoon, Crockett began, her voice clear and strong. I'm grateful you're all here. Today, we're talking about the future of our community, but I know you want to hear my thoughts on the new Pope, Leo XIV. The room buzzed. Journalists leaned over their notepads. Cameras zoomed in. For older Americans, especially Catholics, the election of Robert Francis Prevost, a Chicago cardinal, was a historic event. But his statements calling homosexuality a moral challenge and describing women as keepers of the family hearth sparked outrage among progressive circles. Crockett, known for her advocacy for LGBTQ+ rights and gender equality, was at the heart of this storm. I respect religious beliefs, she continued, her tone measured. But I believe the church should be a place of love, not judgment. Leo XIV calls for moral foundations, but we must ask, whose moral foundations? I want our country to move forward toward inclusivity, where everyone feels heard. The room erupted in applause, but not universally. In the back, a few older men in suits whispered, their faces showing disapproval. A woman in her 60s, wearing a cross necklace, shook her head, muttering to her neighbor, "She doesn't respect our faith." Crockett noticed, but kept her smile steady. The press conference continued. Crockett answered questions about the economy and education, but journalists kept circling back to the Pope. One of them, an older reporter from Fox News, stood up. "Congresswoman Crockett, don't you think your comments about Pope Leo XIV offend Catholics who support his views? Many of your constituents in Texas are people of faith." Crockett took a deep breath. "I understand faith is important to my constituents," she said. "But I represent everyone, not just those who agree with the Pope. If his views exclude my LGBTQ+ constituents or women seeking equality, I can't stay silent. This isn't an insult, it's a call for dialogue." The reporter frowned, but sat down. The room hummed, cameras whirring, capturing the tension. Crockett wrapped up the press conference, thanking everyone, and stepped away from the podium. Journalists swarmed, but her team quickly ushered her to a side room for a brief respite. "Congresswoman, you didn't turn off your microphone," Kyla whispered, her eyes wide. Crockett frowned. "What do you mean?" "You will soon find out what consequences such a mistake will lead to." Kyla scrolled to a video on X, already racking up thousands of views. After the press conference, as Crockett stepped away from the podium, her microphone remained on. Cameras caught her turning to Kyla and quietly saying, "This Leo XIV is just a hypocrite. He talks about morality, but supports policies that divide people. If he really cared about love, he wouldn't preach hate." The words were soft but clear. The room was still buzzing, and a few lingering journalists heard it. Someone recorded it, and now the video was spreading online like wildfire. Crockett closed her eyes, her face contorting. "Oh God, Kyla, this is a disaster," she whispered. "I didn't mean for that to be heard." Kyla placed a hand on her shoulder. "We can fix this. You can explain what you meant." But Crockett shook her head. "Explanations won't help. They'll say I'm attacking the church. My constituents. Half of them are Catholic. They won't forgive this." A knock came at the door. It was the older man Crockett had noticed in the audience, the one whispering with a displeased look. His name was William Thorne, a local businessman and active member of Dallas's Catholic community. His gray hair was neatly combed, his suit betraying wealth. "Congresswoman Crockett," he began, his voice cold but restrained. "I heard what you said. You called our Pope a hypocrite. Do you realize how that offends us Catholics?" Crockett stood, her heart pounding, but she forced herself to appear calm. "Mr. Thorne, I didn't mean for those words to go public. But I stand by what I said. I believe the church should be inclusive. If that offends you, let's talk. Why do you think Leo XIV is right?" Thorne scowled, his fingers tightening on the door handle. "You don't understand. The church is our roots, our values. Pope Leo protects family, tradition. And you want to tear it all down. I don't want to tear anything down. I want your grandson, if he's gay, to feel worthy in the church. I want your daughter, if she wants to be a leader, to not be told her place is at home. Do you really think that's against your values? Mr. Thorne, she repeated, her voice calm but firm, I don't want to fight with you or the church. But if Pope Leo's views exclude people, I will speak out. Let's sit down and talk, like neighbors, not enemies. You call the Pope a hypocrite and then suggest we talk? His voice trembled with indignation. You're insulting my faith, my community. I supported you in the election, but now, I'm not so sure. Crockett felt her stomach tighten. Thorne wasn't just a businessman. He had funded her campaign and held sway in Dallas's Catholic community. But she didn't look away. I respect your support, she said. But I can't stay silent when I see injustice. If you want me to explain my words, I'll do it. Publicly. Thorne snorted, but a flicker of curiosity crossed his eyes. Publicly? You think people will listen to you after this? Kyla, schedule another press conference. Tonight, she said. By evening, the hotel conference room was packed again. Good evening, she began, her voice cutting through the air. Today, I became the center of a scandal because of words I wasn't meant to say publicly. I called Pope Leo the 14th a hypocrite. And I'm here to explain why. The room buzzed. Journalists leaned closer, and William Thorne, standing in the front row, crossed his arms, his eyes narrowing. Crockett took a deep breath and continued. I believe in freedom of faith. But I also believe faith shouldn't exclude people. Pope Leo talks about moral foundations, but his words about homosexuality as a challenge, and women who should know their place, hurt my constituents. I called him a hypocrite because he preaches love, but his actions divide. I'm not against the church. I'm for a church that embraces everyone. Some in the audience clapped, but others, including an older woman with a cross necklace, shouted, Shame on you. The Pope is our guide. Crockett raised her hand, calling for silence. I hear you, she said, and I want us to talk. Not shout, but listen. If you think I'm wrong, tell me. But give me a chance to explain. Suddenly, a young woman, about 25, with short hair and a tattoo on her wrist, stood up in the back. Her voice trembled but was clear. Congresswoman Crockett, I'm a Catholic. And I'm a lesbian. The room gasped, cameras swiveling to her. Pope Leo says I'm a challenge. But I just want to go to church without feeling like a sinner. Why are you the only one speaking for me? The room erupted in shouts. Some clapped, others whispered. Crockett felt her throat tighten with emotion, but she nodded. Thank you for sharing, she said. That's why I'm here, so people like you don't feel abandoned. William Thorne, who had been silent, stepped forward, his face red with anger. He raised his hand, holding a phone, displaying a message. Congresswoman, you think you can just apologize and be done? His voice boomed. I just got a message from my daughter. She was at your first press conference. And she told me she's a lesbian. Because of you. You made her think she could challenge the church, our family. The room fell silent, only the cameras whirring. Mr. Thorne, I didn't make your daughter do anything. She found the courage to tell the truth. And if she's at home now, waiting for you to listen, that's not my fault. It's a chance for you to talk to her. Not to me, not to the Pope, to your daughter. Thorne stood, clutching his phone, his face a mix of anger and pain. The room buzzed, journalists whispering, and the young Catholic in the back row cried, pressing a hand to her mouth. Crockett knew her words could cost her career, but she couldn't stop. She turned back to the microphone. I don't want a war with the church, she said. I want dialogue. And if my words made even one person, like Mr. Thorne's daughter, feel heard, then I'm ready to face the consequences. The press conference ended, but the tension lingered. Journalists rushed out, typing headlines. Crockett accuses Pope and splits families. Thorne stood aside, his eyes fixed on his phone, where his daughter's message glowed. Dad, I just want you to understand me. Crockett turned to Kyla, her hands trembling. That was a risk, Kyla whispered. It was necessary, Crockett replied, her voice full of resolve, but her eyes betraying fear. She knew a bigger storm was coming. "Congresswoman, this isn't over," Kyla said, her voice laced with worry. "Fox News just published an article. Crockett splits families. Is her career done? But there's support too. Dallas LGBTQ+ activists are holding a rally for you tomorrow." Crockett sighed, her eyes tired but determined. "I knew it would be tough, Kyla. But I didn't expect it to get this personal." Thorne, his daughter. "I didn't want this." The door opened, and William Thorne walked in. His gray suit was slightly rumpled, his eyes a mix of anger and confusion. He held his phone, still displaying his daughter's message. "Dad, I just want you to understand me." Crockett stood, her heart tightening. "Mr. Thorne," she began, her voice quiet but sincere, "I didn't mean to hurt your family. If there's anything I can do, tell me." Thorne raised a hand, stopping her. "You've said enough," his voice trembled. "My daughter, Emily, never talked to me about this. About being a lesbian. But today, she texted me after your press conference. She said your words gave her courage. And I don't know whether to be angry at you or thank you." Crockett froze, her eyes widening. This wasn't the Thorne who had angrily accused her an hour ago. She gestured to a chair. "Please sit. Let's talk. Not for the cameras, not for the voters. Just you and me." Thorne hesitated, but sat. His fingers gripped his phone like an anchor. Kyla quietly left, leaving them alone. Silence settled in the room, broken only by the distant hum of the air conditioner and muffled voices of journalists outside. "I've been a Catholic my whole life," Thorne began, his voice hoarse. "The church gave me meaning when I lost my brother in a car accident. Pope Leo. He speaks to values I respect. But Emily, she's my daughter. And I don't know how to reconcile this." Crockett leaned forward, her eyes full of empathy. "I understand what it's like to love your family and wrestle with what you believe. I grew up in a Baptist church, Mr. Thorne. My grandmother taught me to pray every night. But when I saw my friends in the LGBTQ+ community suffer from rejection, I realized love matters more than dogma. Your daughter isn't asking you to renounce your faith. She's asking you to love her as she is." Thorne closed his eyes, his shoulders trembling. He was silent for a few seconds that felt like an eternity. "She said she's afraid I'll turn away from her," he whispered. "How could I do that? But the church. Pope Leo says it's a sin." Crockett placed a hand on the table, her voice soft but firm. "Pope Leo isn't your pastor. He doesn't know Emily. You do. And if you love her, you'll find a way. I'm not saying it's easy, but I believe you can." Thorne looked up, his gaze filled with pain, but sparking with a hint of hope. He nodded, saying nothing, and stood, clutching his phone. Crockett knew this wasn't the end of their conversation, but it was a start. The next day, Dallas buzzed with news. A rally supporting Crockett drew hundreds to City Hall. Young activists held signs reading "Love is not a sin," while older voters who had backed her stood beside them, waving Texas flags. But conservative outlets kept attacking. Crockett versus the church. Will her career survive? On X, posts from Catholic groups called for boycotts of her campaign, yet thousands thanked her for her courage. Crockett stood in her office, watching the crowd through the window. Her blue suit had been swapped for jeans and a white shirt, but her posture remained unyielding. Kyla entered, holding a tablet. "Congresswoman, Thorne's office just called," she said. "He wants to meet. And he said Emily will be with him." Crockett turned, her eyes flashing. "They're ready to talk?" "It seems so," Kyla nodded. "And one more thing. A local Catholic church invited you to a forum. They want to discuss reconciling faith and LGBTQ+ rights. It could be a trap, but it's a chance," Crockett interrupted. "I'll go." That evening, Crockett sat in a downtown Dallas cafe, where the air smelled of freshly ground coffee and cinnamon. Across from her sat William Thorne and his daughter Emily, a young woman with a quiet voice and a nervous smile. Emily held Thorne's hand, her eyes wet but full of hope. "I was scared to tell you, Dad," she said. But when I heard Congresswoman Crockett, I thought, maybe you'd listen to me. Thorne swallowed, his voice hoarse. I can't promise I'll understand everything right away, Emily. But I'm listening, and I love you. Crockett smiled, her heart tightening with emotion. She knew more battles lay ahead. Pope Leo XIV continued to shape society, and her political career hung by a thread. But in this small cafe, where conversations hummed and cups clinked, one father took a step toward his daughter. And that was more than she could have hoped for. Crockett stood, preparing for the next day, the church forum, where new challenges awaited. She knew she wouldn't change everyone, but if her words gave Emily courage and Thorne a chance, it was a beginning. Outside, Dallas glowed, and in that light she saw hope not perfect, but real.